One of the biggest concerns today as the economy slows down is employment. What is going to happen to jobs? Recently, we heard the finance minister say that jobs had been growing in the last few years, even though people had claimed it was jobless growth, but the concern about jobs today does indicate how fast they were growing. I have with me today Manish Sabharwal, chairman of TeamLease, one of India's biggest employers. He employs 85,000 people across 800 cities. Welcome to the show, Manish. Manish, what are you seeing in the present labor markets? In the last 2 months, have you seen any changes? What?
Oh, there's no question that there has been a 25 to 30% downturn in frontline jobs. Obviously, the most affected are retail, financial services, construction, telecom.
Maybe if you could describe to our viewers what your company does and how you are...
Well, TeamLease is a people supply chain company. So we give people temporary jobs. We give them jobs for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 1 year. So if you're in between jobs or you're not able to get a job, you can come to us. And we primarily service labor market outsiders. So people less skilled, less educated, people from small towns, women coming back from a child break, retired people or students looking for a part-time job. You can come to us, and we have more than 1,000 clients, and we place people in 800 cities across the country.
So if I was unemployed and looking for a job, fresh out of school or college, I would come to you and you would find me a placement, so to say.
Well, we would help you do that. I mean, we would hire you, of course. I mean, for example, we have 600 12345, which is a job hotline in 11 languages. So anybody can call that number. We do a free 10-minute interview. And then we invite 30% of those people into one of our 200 centers for a 1-hour assessment. Because everybody can get a job or everybody can get training. But what training you need and what job you're fit for is actually more important.
But these are less skilled people. These are not highly
Absolutely.
skilled. So the other two employers, like the other two top employers of the country, that is TCS and Infosys, are really very highly skilled jobs, whereas what you are doing
is the bottom of the pyramid.
Is the bottom of the pyramid. And you're taking people in and helping them to, in a way, I would say, helping them to find jobs, because yours
Absolutely.
might be the first and then they go on to more permanent jobs.
We're an apprenticeship program on steroids. 55% of my employees go on to a permanent job within a year with the improved employability that comes with experience. If you're a kid and you send in your resume with no experience, you get very different reception than if you write TeamLease account any one of our 1,000 clients.
You're really the correct measure when it comes to talking about whether jobs are increasing or not, or falling, because you're at the periphery. What are the kind of sectors, which are the sectors and companies that you cater to?
Well, 50% of our jobs are in sales. In sales across the board, financial services sales, telecom sales, retail, FMCG. And sales is really becoming the portal for people from the unorganized sector to enter the organized sector. Lower attitude is more important than qualification. So 50% is sales, the balance 50% is spread across the GDP. Secretary,
is it manufacturing at all?
Yes,
or is it
15% is in manufacturing.
Is manufacturing. Which sectors, for example, in manufacturing?
Well, across construction, in engineering, packers, loaders, supervisors, factory floor, salesmen.
Okay, so tell us, what are you seeing in recent months now?
Well,
in which sectors, what has been happening?
Well, for the last 5 years, obviously high tide meant that financial services, telecom, retail, construction was where a lot of hiring took place. There is obviously a slowdown in them, and some of it is probably overdue and healthy, because we are a child of lower hiring standards. People who were hired in the last 5 years, I had a telecom client shouting at me last year sometime, saying, "I need a pair of hands, I don't care if a brain comes attached."
Because there was too much demand, and
it was the skill crisis which was manifesting itself. Because
even at the level at which you hire,
Absolutely.
You were not finding people who you could employ?
Yes, unemployability is a much bigger problem than unemployment.
Even for very low skilled sales jobs, which really don't need that much of training,
it needs attitude,
just a few days.
It does need work skills. I think
you should be able to talk to people, but beyond that, there isn't a
Yes, but even the education system and the training pipeline just is not, I mean, we estimate that 58% of kids need some form of skill intervention. Maybe last mile training, it may be longer training, but 58% of kids need some help.
Okay, so you were saying that in the last 5 years, the demand was too high.
Yes.
And then when have you started seeing changes, if
Well,
any,
in the last
and
6
what are
months. In the last 6 months, it's probably 25-30% down in the organized sector. But we have to keep things in perspective. 93% of the labor force is in the unorganized sector. For them, job security, social security.
So which is the sector you are catering to? What you would
We
call it, the organized,
we migrate
or would you
people
call
from
it
both. Where we straddle the unorganized and organized sectors.
So it's people who are coming into
the organized
first
sector.
timers and then joining the organized sector,
Absolutely.
migrating to
Yes.
the organized sector. And in which sectors are you seeing more of a reduction in demand?
It is the frontline service businesses, like financial services, telecom, retail. See, the unorganized to organized is only one migration happening. See, there are 5 labor market transitions, to my mind, happening since reform. There is unorganized to organized, obviously. There is farm to non-farm. There is rural to urban. There's subsistence self-employment to decent wage employment, and there is school to work. These 5 transitions are not working. They are journeys to a better life for most Indians.
People talk about taking jobs to the villages. I mean, I don't think any country has really grown by either growing agriculture or by most of the population staying in rural areas. And you find per capita GDP increase only when you have either a growth in manufacturing or services and high productivity growth. In that context, what are the most important things happening? So, for example, in the movement from farm employment to non-farm employment, the movement from rural to urban, what are you seeing? Are the numbers big? What is happening on the ground?
See, there is no question that in the short run, you cannot take jobs to people. You have to take people for jobs.
There's migration, in other words.
Yes, in migration. And whenever people talk about farms being a solution,